So where does this like body of research come from, and where does it kind of think of, right? So for the purposes of our like little example, right, we'll do like a couple circles, right? I don't have like a picture of a city, but let's say that we have a city. We'll call this a city, right? City landscape. And so what from the earliest like kind of days, right? We know that there are going to be certain neighborhoods like in a city, right? So maybe this is like Chinatown. Maybe. Well, I'm just thinking of stuff that I remember from downtown LA. This is fashion. This is not to scale, right? And maybe this is more not that color because we have it. Maybe this is an industrial part, where like people build shit. So situations, right, where this could be the financial area. This could be I don't know, like Little Italy. And this could be I don't know what this could be. We'll call it, what do they call it in LA? I think it's like, it's Little Tokyo. Little Tokyo, right? So the point of this, right, is that these are kind of neighborhoods that I remember are in LA, right? And if you look in a city, right, we know that, in theory, crime should occur randomly, right? And it shouldn't, really just kind of maybe occur everywhere because there's, presumably equal opportunity everywhere to commit crime. People can commit crime, in the financial district or in the in Chinatown or Little Tokyo or wherever, right? So what we end up finding, though, like from an empirical standpoint, and this is something that's been recreated over time and time again, is that there are clusters, right? Like there's a cluster here, and maybe there's a cluster here, and maybe over here, and here, and here, and here, maybe, right? And so what we generally find is that crime is a clustered behavior, where we end up finding, crime tends to occur more frequently in certain places more than others, right? So even though there could be crimes that occur everywhere, right? The clustering, the frequency, the prevalence, and a long-standing pattern tends to occur in select groups of places, right? So occurs in select groups of places. So as you'll recall, one of the things about theory that is really interesting, right, is, we know that the world could be random. It could be, really like anything, right? But theory tries to provide an explanation for why the world is the way that it is, or why do we observe patterns in the way that we do, right? So the big thing, from this, right, is that a lot of this comes from, is like we have like these different zones, right? And they are, for whatever reason, more crime attracting. And so with a little bit of empirical research, what do we end up finding exactly, right? Is that typically there are, areas with more poverty, with more decay, physical decay in the streets and the housing. If there are, if there's a lot of ethnic heterogeneity, let's see, and a lot of residential mobility. These are the three factors that lead to like more crime, and these are said is to contribute to social disorganization. So what does that mean exactly, right? So if we drew this out, right, a little bit, let's think about this. So we have this latent concept, social disorganization, right? And what this theory is basically trying to say, right, is that if we have areas with poverty, loaded here, if we have ethnic heterogeneity, This is not the presence of people of an ethnic minority. It is the fact there is a mix of people with racial and ethnic differences, right? So this theory is more about, more diverse areas, not necessarily, areas that are just white or just African American, Black, Caribbean American, or just Asian American, or just Middle Eastern. It's saying the mix of people from different cultural backgrounds. So that part's really key to remember. And with areas with residential mobility, ResMob, all contribute to social disorganization. And because of social disorganization, we have this pathway to more crime. Right? So we'll talk about a couple caveats here, something that we should keep in mind, right? So the first thing that we need to keep in mind, right? Social disorganization is basically saying that a community cannot regulate behavior in its area. So people can't come together. They can't say these are the rules and encourage or intervene on behalf of people breaking the rules because of that. So people cannot come together. And so as a result is that there is a communication breakdown in what is acceptable behavior, what are acceptable norms, what is, or anything like that, right? So there is this breakdown that leads to poor social controls. Right? And this is informal. It's not like the instance police, right? But let's say you saw something what the neighbor was doing or something like that. You're not, willing to intervene, right? And so this theory predicts that with poor social controls, informal social controls, I guess that word is key, with poor informal social controls, this equals to leading to more crime, right? So that's basically what, more or less, is what the saying is, how social disorganization leads to more criminal behavior. Now, important caveat that we should keep in mind, right, is that for these, right, theory doesn't necessarily say that these things cause social disorganization. Rather, they're simply indicators of areas that equal more crime and are presumed to be more socially disorganized. So that's really what the breakdown is saying, right? Is that these things, when we see these things co-occur, and that is probably like a little big caveat, right? Is that when we see all these things together, so they're all like loaded on there, right? This is seen to be as a recipe for social disorganization, and which could lead to more crime, right? So we'll go ahead and pause that. Hopefully that kind of clears some stuff up.